Welcome back to the DNA Pest Control Podcast. Looks a little different,
Just a little bit. We're
just a little
remote.
bit. We
Yeah.
got Aaron in a forest, and
Yes.
I'm just in a white room. That's it.
It's all right.
No. So we've been kind of following the same pattern. It's been, hitting really hard on the same things, but it seems like it's actually been pretty good with everybody. All the listeners have been really responsive to what we've been going over and what we've been talking about, which is awesome. But we're going to kind of follow that same pattern. So if you guys haven't been listening, go back and listen. We've been talking about business. We've been talking about starting a pest control company and what it looks like along those ways and kind of what kind of goes on in the background. We want to give that insight to not just somebody who wants to own one and get into ownership, but also the people that are working, for those people. I don't think a lot of technicians, office staff, just employees in general understand what really a business looks like,
Mhm.
you know? And today we want to talk a little bit about quality control, getting on maybe your first real big customer, and what that may look like. We had a few crucial ones, and we'll talk a little bit about who those are. We won't get into specific names, of course, but we'll talk about what they did for us and really kind of how we grew together, which is kind of cool.
Definitely.
Which, and over the years, you may see that. So, Aaron, you want to talk about kind of signing on that first commercial customer, first big customer?
Absolutely. You know, listening to the past episodes, we've been kind of focusing more on residential, getting enough routes or enough accounts on the day to build a route to hire your first technician. But we're thinking more of like fast forwarding that time frame. And if you're going after these larger commercial accounts, sure, there's mom and pop shops, gas stations, you start getting into apartment complexes and hotels. There's a little bit different strategy that you need to take when you approach that. I mean, the initial sale of it, and we've kind of gone into at least stepping into the front doors. It's a little bit more black and white than, like, I guess a residential sale would be, because there's no secrets on why we're there and what we're looking for. It's like, hey, who does your current pest control? What are you looking for in a pest control provider, and what does property specifically need? We're kind of tailoring it more towards like larger ones, like apartment complexes, but there's so many things that can go under the water that once that sale happens, because let's say you hit the jackpot, right? You get into an apartment complex where their vendor just is terrible. Like, they're not showing up on time. They're not calling. They're not doing the right stuff. And you're thinking, great, I can sign up and get started right now. Everybody's excited. It feels good. They sign the agreement, however much it is per month we get on service. You get to walk away and you win, right? No, that's kind of the whole point of this episode, because, Daniel and I have found that with the massive growth that we have had in the past, couple of years on signing up these sensitive accounts, there's a lot of little specific things you have to monitor within, the business side and your own technicians, as well as how you're communicating with them on the account side,
Yeah. And kind of what we saw and what we had from the very beginning is we actually had a restaurant on. That was kind of our big one. And in the beginning, they only had 4 or 5 stores, you know. They weren't very big. Now it's a national chain, so they are big, but the franchise company that had them was actually very small. And we were doing them for really, really cheap. Too cheap, actually. We were losing money. And just so everyone knows, we were doing it for $25 a service. Yeah. Yep. It was ridiculous, but that changed pretty quick. So once we kind of got into it after their first year, they signed a contract. That changed, and it ended up being, we raised their prices quite a bit after that. But as we were on, and Aaron's talking about getting that first person on, and yeah, a lot of it is really black and white, right? I mean, you go in, it's pretty much, hey, we're here, we're doing pest control. You have a company, we know you have a company, um, but this is what we can do different. Whether that's pricing, whether that's services, whatever that may be, you're going to have to try to see what that is. Now, we've had episodes in the past about selling that commercial account, getting them on. The main thing is with a lot of people, when you're getting into the commercial realm and really starting to get into it, one, it's not that big and scary. It's just a house that you're servicing more frequently and more foot
So
traffic,
true.
right? I mean, it really is. It's the same structure. It's the same building.
Mhm.
Now, there are going to be different types of commercial properties. So don't take that as across the board. You get into a farming situation, that's way different than just an apartment complex or a restaurant.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about those commercial, you need to find out what their needs are.
Mhm.
And everyone has a different need. So when you're stepping into that, what is that need and how are you fulfilling that need better than the next guy?
Yeah.
Most people shy away from commercial because of that. And it's, hey, I'll stick with residential. It's a little bit easier. Friends and family will sign up, blah, blah, blah. I'll step away from commercial because they already have a company. They've been with them 20 years. They don't want to switch.
Yeah.
But in our case, we got them on. They actually knew the technician that was here at the time and they sold off. We actually thought we lost them when they sold. And we're like,
Oh, wow.
crap. Yeah, this is going to suck. We'll come to find out that company actually contacted us and said, hey, we want to, we'll keep you, but we have like 5 other restaurants. And we're like, whoa, okay, that was easy. That was pretty cool. And then that turned into 30 and then turned into, I think we're up to 60 now. And we're doing pretty much all of their stores in the area. The ones that are available, they throw our way. The ones that we've said no to, they give it to other people because it's way far out of our area.
Mhm.
But that's kind of that importance of signing some of those commercials up. And some people shy away from smaller businesses and things like that, but you have no idea what those can turn into. You don't know what that person's going to create. And they could turn it into 4 stores into 10 or 20. We have another one that actually just called us up recently and signed on another one.
That's right.
And yeah, and I gave them my business card 3 years ago, 4
I
years
remember you
ago.
told me about that. Hmm.
Yeah, just went in. The kid was with me. He wanted to grab lunch, walked in, handed my business card over, and they ended up calling on. And from there, I think they're up to 8 now, 8
Yeah.
restaurants.
Side
You
note,
know,
I don't want to cut you off, but I
yeah,
took that call. It was actually yesterday in the office, and it
yeah,
was the owner, the one who maybe you gave your car to, and she literally said, "Hey, we're opening up a new location in Woodland." She was like, "I want you guys to do service, just kind of do the same thing we're doing, but let me know how much it is, and like you guys get out there today." And I was like, "Yeah, literally the easiest sale, like the
yeah,
easiest laydown."
yeah. No, and it honestly is. But don't think that that's you get in with a place and you're in.
Mhm.
That's not how that works. And we'll talk about a little bit more of what I mean when I say that, because we pull and we steal a lot of customers from a lot of pest control companies. And it's because they have that mentality of, well, they signed on with me, they like me, so we're good. And it's yes, but for how long?
Mhm.
There is a limit there. Um, and it's all about really kind of following up with the customer, not just going out and doing the service. If you're a single owner, you're running and it's just you, well, that's easy to control. It's really hard to control when you start to hire on multiple people, because you do your job at the best of your really, I mean, the best that you possibly can. But someone that you hire on doesn't necessarily do that,
True.
and we've seen it. You have a great story actually about it.
100%. I think loyalty lies with the results in this industry.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure if you guys out there who are doing pest control sales, you hear this all the time. I've been the same guy for 20 years. And when I get told that, the first thing I ask is, how is the service, or what do you want done differently? And there's usually tons of things that they can talk about that they want change or they want to see differently with their service. But for example, the one that Dan was talking about, we have a property management company that has a few apartment complexes on in the area. We went back and forth with one manager. She was on the fence. One day she basically called in and said, "Hey, I'm ready to sign up." Actually, you were there at the property doing inspections or something. She brought out the physical contract and signed it there on the spot. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Anyways, 3-4 months go by. We're all excited. She signed up. It was a good amount to add to the monthly revenue coming in. She was getting treatments done, getting rodent work done. There was a lot of add-ons, like lots of great things. And I ended up going for a quality control call because she said, "Hey, we're having some rodent issues on this side of the property. I want to know what's going on." Walking with her on the property, I was opening up every single bait station and checking, and they were completely empty. So not only did she agree to sign up for a year with us based on the fact that we were going to actually fix and resolve the problems, I'm walking with her on the property. Literally, she's asking me, "Hey, per the agreement, you said that you were going to check these bait stations, do X, Y, Z, and you're not doing it. So what's going on?" And me, as the person who's doing the quality control, I have to sit there and say, "I have no idea. Like, this is unacceptable." But that's the thing that we're getting into. The office had no idea. Me overseeing the technicians had no idea. The technician was just letting that brush under the rug because he wanted to finish the stops early or whatever he was doing. But there's so much that can actually go wrong if you're not paying attention and actually following up with management and following up with these customers that can, honestly, you think everything is going right, and then out of nowhere you get cancellations left and right from that.
Yeah. Well, and that's something as you're growing and we didn't realize that, we're human guys. We made a lot of mistakes. We still are
Sure.
making mistakes. And that's the thing is we're throwing this information out there so you guys can prevent these mistakes at your own place.
Yes.
Follow up, check, do quality control. And there's a reason behind the quality control. And you may say, well, that's bad business. There's not money in it. It's a free appointment. And yeah, you're correct. If you're thinking all of those things, you're absolutely correct. It is a free appointment, but it's not wasted if you do it correctly. If you're talking to the right person, you're doing the control in the right way, it actually can be a positive, not a negative. So when we've gone out and done QC, we'll throw out apartments, for example. And I'm going to throw out some information and stuff that we've done. I think I've thrown this out in past episodes. It's not a secret. It was at Pest World one year in a class that we took. But essentially they did a study, and the study was 9 out of 10 apartment units. So if you have 100, 90 of them won't come and tell management anything about insects. Okay. You're going to get 10% that may actually come and tell you that they have a problem. And out of those, I think it was, what did we say? It was 3 out of 10 have cockroaches or bed bugs. Yeah.
It was cockroaches.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So it's about a 30% chance if you do inspections, or you'll get 3 out of 10. If you're doing inspections on 10 units, you're going to have 3 that are infested with something, whether it's a bed bug, whether it's a cockroach. And so what we did is we pulled that in and said, whoa, this is good information. Because if we have this information and we bring this back to our customers, our apartment complexes, it's, hey, let's do inspections on your complex and let's see who has an issue. Instead of waiting until an infestation pops up and you can't rent that unit, let's jump on it prior to.
Yeah.
Now, not all managers are good, and not all managers are going to allow you to do that. And depends on the property management company and the structure. You don't know. But we started bringing that up. So as we did these follow-ups and we were talking to the right people, that's when we were able to say, hey, let's run some inspections with you. This is how much it is to run the inspections. We'll check everything with you while you're doing your inspections on the unit, and we'll see if we can find any cockroaches or bed bugs. Well, we turn a quality control into now money, because now we're making a ton of money off of it. But not only that, is we just built loyalty. They're seeing that we're willing to come out and take our time and walk with them and inspect these units and train the management and actually talk to them about what's going on the facility, the property, what changes they need to make if they need any. Remember, we're the professionals.
Exactly.
So that quality control and that follow-up turns into a ton of money really quickly. You go back to the restaurants, right? So the restaurant that we brought on, the franchise, and as they started growing, well, they started having more issues, more stores, more issues, more units, more issues, right? It always happens.
Sure.
And as you do that, this is your time to shine. We went in, they had cockroaches. We got rid of the cockroaches. We went in, they had rodents. We got rid of the rodents. And as that started to compile, they started trusting us more and more and more. And that's why they kept us on, even in new areas that they already had pest control. They didn't have to switch to us. They already had guys there. Why would they switch? They called us to get us out there. We didn't call them. We had no idea they even bought those stores. But they knew if we have an issue, we know who we can call and we know their results because they've been getting rid of all the problems at other stores. Not only were we doing that, though, just so everybody knows, at night when we were doing the actual service, we would have our technician take pictures of the store and report back to the main maintenance guy so he knew what the store looked like. He knew if it was getting cleaned or not. These were stores that were an hour and a half, 2 hours away. This guy couldn't cover all those stores, but we could. And while we were doing that and taking pictures, he would find a handful of stores every time he'd go out and do these runs. And he would report it back to the office. And then the office would call him in the morning and report to the main guy. And that started building even more trust. So these are the little things that people you need to think about. You get on an apartment complex or a property management company and you finally get in on one and they have dozens in the area. The word starts to spread. If you are available, if you are there, if you're doing your job, if you're eliminating the problem, if you're handling bad tenants, right? That starts to add so much value. It's work. It's a lot of work.
It is.
But those quality control can turn into a lot of money and a lot of sales. And that's something that we want to hit on as well, is when you're doing quality control, sales, most people think sales. Well, that's new customers. I got to go out and find a new customer. I got to find a new person. I got to find a new, something new, a person new, a building new, something like that. That's not the case. You can sell to current customers. There's added value in adding those packages together. Does a restaurant have a fly light? Well, if they don't, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Right.
You do it. That chain of restaurants you were just talking about, literally we were going in there. I don't know what started it. Maybe one or two locations had issues with flies.
I started it.
Oh, okay. You started it. I was wondering.
I'll tell you what I did, but yeah, go on.
No, but the whole point of it was like, it started with one or two actual, like the fly light machines with the fly light bulbs that we were installing, putting in, which became a recurring service, not only for the sticky pad that goes behind it, but also the bulbs themselves. Now, the locations when it was like just a few to, in the teens and now at like 50s and 60s, most of those locations have these multiple $100 fly light bulbs that we've installed and that we're monitoring on a yearly and monthly basis.
Yeah, it will actually. So what happened with that? So funny story, go back about 5 years, I think it was.
Okay.
One of the original ones, so with the original owners over them, they were super cheap. They didn't want to spend any money. I mean, literally anything. And they had a problem with flies. I don't remember the exact location, but I remember going in, I was looking around, seeing what was going on. And I'm like, hey, you guys need a fly light. And they're like, well, how much? I'm like, I'll look, but you need one. Like, you have to have one. Like, it's bad. And so I went and pulled the information. And I came back to them and gave them the price, and they were like, "Oh, that's way too much money." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "You know what? I don't even care. We'll give it to you at cost. You just have to pay for the glue boards that we're going to be putting in it. We'll
Mhm.
install it for free. Like, I don't even care. I'll just install it, but let's get the reoccurring on there so we can get the bait station or the fly lights on there,
Mhm.
right? And the light bulbs." And even then, they were like, "Nope, we don't want the fly light."
Oh, wow.
I'm like, "Dang, okay." But as we kept going, that problem, it was still there. We kept throwing them out pricing. We never let it go because they wanted
Sure.
us to do something magical there. And there's nothing that we can do, to get rid of flies magically. So as time went on, we ended up getting all those other stores. And as we got on all those other stores, one night when I was out there running them, I kept seeing the fly light bulbs at a bunch of different stores or fly lights.
Okay.
And so I ended up bringing it up. I said, "Hey, let's reach out to them. We haven't talked to them about fly lights or anything since the switch. Let's bring it up and see if they actually want us to monitor those and change out the fly light bulbs, change out the sticky, the glue boards, do all that for them." And they said yes. On the ones that already had the fly lights, they wanted to do that. If their store didn't have it, they didn't want to add one up
Yeah.
until they had a problem, right? That's how most people work. Until I'm dying, then I'll get it fixed. Um, I will prevent it, but I'll wait till I'm going to get shut down, and then I hurry and want a fast solution to
Right.
it. But they agreed to it. But that's just one of those things that we're talking about is when you're at a store, when you're at that as a manager, are you looking at those specific things? Are you paying attention, or are you just showing up, hurry, make it quick? I just got to see if this guy did his job and then I got to go. I'm hurrying. I'm getting out of here.
Good
Because
point.
those are opportunities that you can make so much money. And because of that, you're right. Because of that, we get thousands of dollars on a yearly basis from just light bulbs alone. That's it. Just light bulbs. We're pulling
Yeah.
in probably close to 10 grand just in light bulbs.
Yeah.
We're not even including the glue board that's going in that light that's getting
Mhm.
replaced every single month.
Yeah.
So the quality control can easily turn into an upsell and added value and more money. Because now, as you're adding on those services, you start to get them to buy in more and more. Because now, Joe Blow, who comes in, who's like, "Hey, I can do this store for $25." They say, "Great. Do you know how this fly light works? Do you know
Mhm.
how to change out the bulbs? Do you have the glue board that goes inside? Are you
Yeah.
doing rodent work? Are you doing cockroach treatments? Are you doing all of these things that they're doing? Are you doing drain treatments that they help us with?" You can't do that. It doesn't matter how low your price is. They're going to have issues, and they know they are. So those are those added values, but those are just one of many things, right? There's a few that I
Mhm.
just said. There's just a few that you can actually add on as an added value service,
Yeah.
to your commercial properties.
And sometimes it's not even adding it on. Sometimes it's just reminding customers of what you actually do. Even
Mhm.
on the homeowner side and the commercial side, how many times I've been to a homeowner's house or a commercial property that we've been to for years and years. It's actually just happened. Like apartment complex didn't realize we did drain treatments for drain flies. This is somebody
Mhm.
that we do cockroach treatments for, bed bug treatments for, rodent work. Like we do so many service for them, and they're like, "Are you serious? Like we outsource that. I think you guys could do that here." you
Yeah.
know so
Yeah.
some of those quality control calls, like Daniel was saying, can turn into massive opportunities based on conversations about like property specific issues. And even if it's homeowners, like when we have homeowners call in, the people who are taking that phone call and the initial technician going out there, it's their responsibility to describe the services, what we do, what we don't do. But you'd be amazed when we send out mailers, when we send out, whether it's somebody calling in saying, "Hey, in case you forgot, we offer rodent work, we offer cockroach treatments, bed bug treatments, inspections, junk removal." That was one
Mhm.
that, is kind of massively just upticks out of nowhere. But on apartment complexes, when you're doing bed bug treatments, surprise, nobody wants to touch a bed bug infested mattress. So if you tell a management company who wants to throw a little bit of money at it, it's like, hey, we'll take care of that for you, because they had no idea that we even do that service in the first place, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and you have to be careful too with some of the services you add on because you need to make sure you have enough manpower to handle it.
Good point. Good point.
So, yeah, and I saw that on some stuff because we ended up adding on junk removal during COVID, just to help out and say, hey, we're out here already. We need to keep busy. So let's do it. We have a truck that we bought right before COVID hit, and we had no idea that COVID was going to go down. And so we had a brand new truck ready to go that we can just start loading stuff in.
Mhm.
And that was one of those services, but I ended up getting stuck with doing all that work. So you kind of get it to where it's, hey, be careful what you get into. It's good money. It was great. It kept us busy. It kept money coming in. So even if it dipped a little bit, we were good. I could meet technicians at appointments and they would help me.
Mhm.
We did a ton of rodent stuff for houses. It was actually a really good service, but I was the one doing it. And since it wasn't solidified, 100%,
Mhm.
it was here and there, but I was the here and there. You can't take
Nice.
a regular route tag and throw them at that in hopes that they'll go do it because they're a route tag. They're not expecting to go lift heavy items all the time.
Sure.
So you got to be smart when you're looking at those services and saying, okay, we're capable of doing it, but who can also do it? Because
Mm,
if it's just you, well, now you're the guy that's going to be running all over the place,
true.
you know. But coming back to the QC, and the upsell side is, management is really the crucial person in that, right? It's not your tech that's out there. He's not going to do quality control. And you have to check your technicians. So many people are going to hate that. They're
Mhm.
going to hate me saying that. The guy who's driving his truck right now, running a route, he's probably screaming at us saying, you guys are idiots. Why would you check me? I'm so good, blah, 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 blah. And you are until you're not,
Mhm.
right? I mean, we had a guy who is great. I mean, he's super good. People love him, but he was doing stuff illegally.
Mhm.
He wasn't wearing the proper PPE and sometimes not even wearing PPE. That's the importance of checking, right?
Yeah.
And luckily, that was just at a residential house. Could you imagine at a commercial property?
No.
You know?
No. Couldn't.
I mean, they would have been done. They would have said, "No, I don't know what you guys are doing. Like, we're not doing business with you guys.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are paying us. We're trying to get their money. We're
Mhm.
not giving them money. It's different when you're giving somebody money. They have to
Yeah.
listen to you, right? But when you're getting their money, you have to be on your best behavior. But
Right.
management where that's so crucial. Management's that important piece, on
I
seeing
think
that.
Yeah, I think QC really paints a lot bigger of a picture. QC, quality control, it paints a really big picture that you can get so much information from. Let's go
Mhm,
through kind of a scenario. Like, if I'm going to a smaller mom and pop restaurant and I notice that the same technician has been doing the service there for the past 3, 4 months. Sort of what I'm looking for in that conversation, as somebody over technicians who's doing that training quality control, is I'm asking the manager, the people who's dealing with that technician directly, I'm just straight up, hey, how's service been? I haven't
mhm,
talked to you in 5, 6 months. I know we got everything signed up. Things are great. I just want to make sure. I know you had issues with cockroaches and rodents in the beginning. What's going on here? And even if things are good, let's say one path, technician's great, everything's great, I'm happy with services. That's when I'm like, oh, just as a reminder, we do drain treatments, we do
mhm,
fly lights, we do rodent estimates. If you have anybody that will give kind of a kickback for a referral, and that's an opportunity. Now, on the other side, let's say things aren't going well and they say, actually, guy never calls when he's supposed to. He doesn't check in. Take a look at that glue board. It's been the same one since you've gotten here month one. And as a manager, I'm like, okay, this is something I need to address right now. You see what I'm
mhm.
saying? How much
Yep.
information you can actually get from a quality control. And I think it's structuring the conversation correctly. And I think it's playing it as the conversation goes along. Because if things are well, yes, it's a good opportunity to sell. If you're talking, let's say you're a restaurant owner, I'm like, hey, Daniel, how's service has been? You're like, services have honestly been pretty terrible. You guys aren't
Mhm.
taking care of problems here. You're not doing this. And then imagine me saying, hey, well, just in case you forgot, we do drain treatments, we do this, in case you ever need anything. It's terrible. So I think reading the room and understanding your customers and the technicians going to those services is crucial.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, and what you said is you're getting vitals on the business. You're understanding now what needs to be fixed and what you guys are doing good at, what you're doing bad at. It tells you so much as you start to do the quality control, as you're getting that feedback, because we all get the customer. You're always going to you get two customers most of the time.
Okay.
You're going to get a really happy customer that calls and is praising the technician, or you're going to get a really pissed off customer. Okay. You never get someone who just calls you and says, "Hey, Aaron, how's it going? I'm just giving you a heads up. I'm not super happy. It's not like you guys are doing a terrible job, but you're not doing the best job either. I mean, you're
Right.
kind of just doing it. I'm not thrilled about it, but just wanted to give you a heads up. These are some of the things I saw that were going wrong." You're
Yeah.
never going to get a guy to do that. Nobody's doing that. You're either getting praise or you're either getting destroyed because someone messed up real bad.
Mhm.
So going out there, and when you spark that conversation, it's really good, and management has to do it. It's pretty rare that a business owner, manager, even a homeowner is going to tear that technician apart on the spot. It's rare they're going to come out and say, "What the hell are you doing? You haven't been doing this, you haven't been doing that, you haven't been doing these things, you need to get it together." They'll usually let it slide, and then when a manager gets there, then they feel more relaxed. They're more at ease, and they're going to say, "Hey, Aaron, I've been seeing this with your tech. You guys should get that fixed. You should get this fixed. We need to change it here. We need to change it there." You'll get a whole different vibe from it. And you're right, read the room. That's not the time to do an upsell either.
Yeah.
That's the time to take the vitals of the business and that technician, and that's going to go on his report, and you're going to talk to him about that,
Yeah.
next sit down. And hopefully, whenever that meeting is, and if it's weekly meetings, you should probably talk to him then before it builds up and creates a massive problem.
Yeah.
But that quality control there really turns it around. And it's amazing how many people, when you go to restaurants, you go to commercial buildings, and even if they're not happy, if you're willing to listen and actually take that time and say, "Okay, thanks for letting me know. We're definitely going to get this corrected. We're going to take the time to make sure it's all good." You do that, you start to solidify lifers. They will be with you for life. And the reason is they know that you're going to listen, you're going to take their feedback, you're going to change, you're going to improve, and you're going to keep going.
Absolutely.
And they feel comfortable telling you when something's wrong.
Hmm.
If you don't do anything or you let it kind of slide, they start to learn, hey, they don't want to learn. They don't want to listen. They don't want to grow. And you know what? I don't even want to talk to them anymore.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'll go somewhere else. And usually that's when we come in and we'll take them.
Hmm. No, honestly, that's true.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, and I'm thinking in terms of growth. I know it kind of has a negative connotation to it if customers are telling you what's going wrong with the services right now. But when I get those on like my desk, or if I'm out there in the field talking to management and somebody tells me like, "Hey, your technician does a great job, but he's just kind of a dick. Like he doesn't really talk to us or do that." Or if it's like technician's really friendly, he's doing a great job, but I don't think he's doing XYZ. Like I actually enjoy hearing that information because I'm like, okay, I know what we're doing well and I know what we're lacking in. And as somebody who's over the technicians and doing the training, especially in those sensitive accounts, like you said, it gets the vitals of the business, gets the vitals of the customer, and you can really make it work so that way there's an open line of communication. Because you're right, it's like I want customers and I want management to be able to come back to me and say, hey, there's an issue here. I'd rather than tell me that there's an issue than lie and say everything's okay and then look for another company in the meantime. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you talked about, and that's good actually. I'm glad you brought that up. That's something I didn't have on our notes or anything, but that is a really good subject to hit on real quick. is when everything's good, everything's great,
Of
right?
course.
When everything's bad, everything's bad, and people are freaking out, and everything's dying, and and so how are you handling those situations when everything's good? We're still trying to improve, but it's good. Yeah, I know, but that's why we're still trying to improve. We want to keep it good.
Yeah.
But when it starts to get bad, people want to like hide those things and keep it a secret. An angry customer calls in, and if they have, reason to actually tell us, hey, you did this wrong, listen. It is a perfect time to learn and grow. And if you're not learning during those times and you're not taking that time to say, okay, what are we doing wrong? And you're going to get those crazy customers that literally make no sense, that say weird stuff. And it's like, no, I'm not going to change that. Like, you need to call me specifically to schedule. No, that's not part of our business model. If one customer has to go in that situation, whatever, they got to go. So be careful with it, but take that time to hear, like Aaron was saying, is what went wrong? What was bad? Because now you just gave me literally the recipe of what I need to do to be 10 times better than the next guy. Because you're telling me what I'm doing wrong. The ones that don't tell you, it sucks because you can't learn, you can't grow. But the ones that are willing to tell you that you screwed up and this is where you screwed up, now you can start to create a plan of what can we do to prevent that from the future. And if you eliminate that, you're already ahead of the next guy.
100%. It's helped us here,
Oh yeah. I mean, a ton. And I've been in the office taking those calls, and I'll ask people, what did we do wrong?
Exactly.
And some people are like, why do you want to know? And it's like, well, because I want to make sure that I prevent this from, the next customer if you decide to cancel. I want to make sure that we're doing it right. Even if I don't get a sell. If I'm out there, I've spent time, I've sent them the estimate, I've done everything, I will reach back out to them and say, hey, did you choose someone else? What's going on? If they say yes, it's okay. What did I do wrong? Why didn't you choose me? And I allow them to tell me, like, please, I'm not upset. I just want to know. And then you just gain so much traction, because now the next apartment complex, the next restaurant, I already know what I'm not going to do on that quote to make sure that they'll say yes, because I know it didn't work with that person and it was a dumb idea to put it on there. So now I'm going to change that. They just shed the light that I needed to know how I can tweak those things to get more business.
Right.
So and that all comes back down to quality control. Are you taking the time to listen to those customers and tweaking what you need to be better? And typically it comes from management.
100%. So I know we kind of got off on a few different topics. We went to sales, we went to management. But if anything, I think the importance of this episode we wanted to cover is the importance of quality control and how it really gives you vitals, not only on your guys, it gives you vitals on the customers and you yourself as, owners, operators. We've been kind of doing this business segmented, series of episodes as you're bringing on new customers, bringing on new talent. People shy away from quality control. I mean, not just in this industry, in every industry, it's not really micromanaging. It's really understanding what the ins and outs of the business on both sides and understanding what technicians are doing, what customers need, what's necessary in the field in terms of training, policies, and procedures. Daniel and I are always on a revolving door creating new policies and procedures because of the quality control we're doing, and it's causing us to get better and better. So you guys are just getting started out there and you don't really do quality control, or you have a guy that you're not really comfortable doing quality control with, let us know. We'll give you some tips. I mean, we do it all the time. It's definitely a vital part of starting that business and continuing to grow that business, because if you don't know what's going on, it's going to suffer, and looking away is not going to do any good for it.
Oh yeah.
But if you found value in this episode, please share it, like it with somebody that you think could benefit from it. We post episodes every Monday and Thursdays. We have YouTube, Instagram. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Music. Thank you again for listening to the DNA Pest Control Podcast.